Welcome, dear friends. Today, around the fire with all you curious souls, we're about to embark on an unforgettable journey into the depths of history. But this isn't just any story, no. What I'm going to share is the tale of an emperor, a leader, a hero. You'll be hearing about the life of Julius Caesar, who lived during Rome's most glorious and tumultuous times, and whose name has echoed through the centuries. Close your eyes and imagine walking along the stone roads of Rome, the hustle and bustle of the city, the sounds echoing through the streets, the rich wearing their gold-embroidered togas, and the endless struggle of the poor. In the heart of this vast empire, an extraordinary man was born, someone feared and admired by all. Caesar began his journey as an ordinary soldier, but he gained such power and might that neither rivals nor allies could stop him. Caesar's story, shining like a star on Rome's historical stage, was filled not just with battles but with intrigue, betrayal, friendships, and immense ambition. His rise was a true dance of power and intellect. To some, he was a hero; to others, a dictator. But one thing we all know: Caesar changed the fate of Rome. Today we'll follow this great leader from his childhood up to that unforgettable day when he was betrayed by his closest friend. Get ready, because this tale isn't just a story from the cold pages of history, but a saga of human passion for power, authority, and immortality. So, by the light of the fire, let's start tracing Caesar's path without getting lost in the shadows. If you're ready, we're diving into the walls of Rome, the dusty battlefields, and the intrigue-filled Senate chambers. As you listen to this story, let yourself be immersed in Rome's chaotic and captivating world, because we're not just studying history, we're living it. Ready? Let's begin. Dear friends, now I'm going to take you back to the very beginning of Caesar's story, to the grand and intricate world where he was born. Close your eyes and imagine the splendid villas of Rome's patrician families, marble columns, mosaic floors, and the magnificent frescoes on the walls. Julius Caesar was born into such a world, as a part of the noble blood that had ruled Rome for centuries. Caesar was no ordinary Roman; he came from a prestigious patrician family. This noble class was made up of Rome's oldest and most respected families. Caesar's family was known as the Julians, with roots tracing back to the founding of Rome. According to legend, their ancestors went all the way back to Aeneas, the son of the goddess Venus. Imagine that, a family claiming divine ancestry. Caesar grew up with these stories. Even as a child, he believed that divine blood flowed through his veins, and perhaps that's why he was always certain he was meant for more than an ordinary life. Caesar's father, Gaius Julius Caesar, was a leading patrician of Rome and was often seen in the Senate chambers and political arenas with his family. Being part of Rome's complex political landscape was a reality Caesar faced from a young age. His father introduced him to influential people; he met future leaders, generals, and senators while still a child. Caesar's mother, Aurelia Cotta, was one of the most intelligent and powerful women of the time. Her sharp mind and dignified demeanor are said to have influenced Caesar's own cunning and intellect. Being a patrician in Rome at that time meant power. But this power came with not just wealth but also great responsibilities. Endless rivalries, efforts to outshine each other, intrigues, and alliances. Caesar grew up right at the heart of these turbulent and political games. Even as a child, he understood very well what it meant to uphold family honor and be part of Rome's most prestigious lineage. Young Caesar was different from other children. Instead of playing ordinary games, he preferred reading history and listening to stories of great battles and heroic deeds. The noble identity given to him by his family was a responsibility, and Caesar always carried that burden. He believed from an early age that he wasn't just an ordinary Roman but a leader who would shape Rome's future. With his ambition, intelligence, and the support of his esteemed family, he showed signs even then of becoming one of Rome's greatest figures. Caesar's patrician background gave him not just a lineage but also a mission. He would elevate Rome's glory further and immortalize his family's and Rome's name. Caesar's childhood was shaped by these beliefs, dreams, and passions. This was the beginning of everything, the start of a journey leading a young patrician to become one of history's greatest leaders. Now let's explore together how this young patrician transformed into a great leader. If you're ready, let's take our first step into Julius Caesar's legendary rise. Ah, dear friends, now I'll take you from the narrow streets and grand forums of Rome to the rooms where young Caesar received his education and the military camps where the clash of swords echoed. Look, Caesar's story wasn't just about the power he inherited from his lineage. From a young age, he honed both his mind and body through rigorous training. Becoming Rome's greatest leader was no easy feat, and young Caesar knew that well. Caesar studied under the best teachers of the time from his childhood. Education was highly valued in Rome, especially for children of the patrician class. Learning Roman history, Latin, Greek literature, and philosophy was the path for every patrician child. But Caesar was no ordinary student. He approached every lesson with great seriousness and a hunger for knowledge. Imagine him sitting at a small desk filled with books. On one side, pages recounting the great heroes of Greek history, on the other, Latin texts. He would immerse himself in these texts, as if he were living those moments. He sought to understand the meaning behind every sentence, and drew lessons from every story. Yet the figures who influenced Caesar the most were the great leaders: Alexander the Great, Hannibal, Scipio Africanus. He read about them with great interest, carefully studying their successes and mistakes. Another crucial aspect of Caesar's education was his training in rhetoric. He studied under one of the most renowned orators of the time. Orators were stars in Rome, these masters, who captivated crowds with their speeches and guided people with their ideas, had a significant impact on Caesar. Learning how to influence others and grasp the power of words while standing in the same room with such masters was one of the most important parts of Caesar's future leadership journey. To have a say in Rome's political arena, one needed powerful oratory skills. Caesar developed this talent through years of rigorous practice. In his oratory classes, he imagined himself in an arena, friends on one side, enemies on the other. His use of voice would touch the hearts of his listeners. His speeches reflected a leader's courage, determination, and intelligence. Even at a young age, this talent drew attention, and many in Rome began to believe he would become a great leader. But lessons and training alone weren't enough. A young leader also needed military knowledge. Caesar began his first military experiences in his 20s. Serving in the Roman army was a turning point for Caesar. During his first military campaigns, he felt the dust and blood of war deep in his bones. Being part of Rome's famed legions was both an honor and a challenging test for a young patrician at that time. Every moment in the battlefield was etched into Caesar's mind. He was not just a commander. He fought alongside his soldiers, faced danger up close, got covered in mud, and swung his sword at the enemy. One of his first military assignments was in the Asian provinces, where he was tasked with maintaining Rome's power and suppressing uprisings in the region. Young Caesar proved his physical courage as well as his strategic intelligence in these challenging conditions. During cold nights in the military camp, Caesar spent hours over maps, trying to predict his enemy's moves. He had to stay one step ahead. He meticulously planned his strategies to defeat his foes. The first wounds he received on the battlefield further strengthened his soldier's spirit. Imagine a young man, gripping his sword tightly, fighting against enemies despite the blood flowing from wounds under his armor. These moments showcased his bravery and leadership potential. His soldiers saw him not just as their commander but as a comrade fighting alongside them in the front lines. That's why, even at a young age, Caesar managed to win the hearts of his soldiers. These initial military experiences of young Caesar were a precursor to his future great victories. Combining his strategic intelligence, courage, and leadership skills on the battlefield, he advanced steadily towards becoming one of Rome's greatest commanders. This young man, blending a trained mind and a strong soldier, was destined to change Rome's fate. But this was just the beginning. Greater challenges and victories lay ahead. These first steps in military experience and education laid the foundation for his epic future journey. My dear friends, let me take you to one of the most tumultuous periods in Rome's history, the challenging times of young Caesar. We're diving into the darkest days when power struggles in Rome were at their sharpest, when friends and enemies were indistinguishable, and betrayals and conspiracies were rampant. In this story, we'll encounter one of the greatest obstacles Caesar faced: the dictatorship of Sulla and Caesar's exile. Yes, this was Caesar's first major test. Rome was in a state of great turmoil during this period. Storms were raging in the Senate, and the streets of Rome were scenes of bloody clashes. At the heart of this chaos was a man named Sulla, a ruthless, determined, and power-hungry leader. He was a dictator who justified any means to become Rome's absolute ruler. Having won the civil war against Marius, Sulla declared himself dictator. But this was more than just a title. Sulla had become Rome's sword and shield, suppressing any opposition with blood. This was a difficult and dangerous time for many noble families in Rome. And there, right in the middle of this storm, was young Caesar. Caesar's life changed dramatically during this period. Still in his youth, Caesar was related to Marius's family, as he was married to Marius's widow, Julia, which was a significant issue for Sulla. Imagine at that time in Rome, anyone opposing Sulla was either exiled or punished with death. And Caesar's biggest danger was precisely this: he had found himself on Sulla's blacklist simply because of his family and connections. Young Caesar's life had suddenly taken a turn for the worse, dragging him down a path full of dangers. While the dictator Sulla threatened Caesar's life, the young man tried to resist with great courage. However, as Sulla's pressures increased, Caesar's options were dwindling. On one hand, a young man trying to protect his family and honor in Rome, and on the other, Sulla's ruthless oppression. At this point, Caesar was forced into exile. Packing a few belongings and leaving Rome for safety was not just an escape for him, but a new beginning. While putting pressure on Caesar, Sulla had said, "This kid has too much of Marius in him. One day he'll be a problem for us." Yes, Sulla had already recognized Caesar's potential, and perhaps that's why he tried to push him completely off his path. Caesar's exile wasn't just a physical removal, it deepened his ambition and determination. Exile was a test for Caesar. It was a period filled with loneliness, hostility, and uncertainty, far from Rome's grand streets and crowded forums, in an unknown world. But Caesar never even considered giving up. For him, this exile wasn't a defeat, but the start of a battle. Every day, with Sulla's shadow hanging over Rome, Caesar was thinking about how to shape his future. During his exile, Caesar traveled to distant lands. He met new people and experienced different cultures. He walked through the enchanting streets of Alexandria and sailed the azure waters of the Mediterranean. But this exile wasn't just about being a traveler. During this time away from Sulla, Caesar continued to develop himself. He tested his leadership, strategic intelligence, and most importantly, his patience. During this exile, Caesar was even captured by pirates. Yes, imagine, young Caesar falling into the hands of pirates and being held for ransom. Yet even here, he showed his leadership spirit and courage. He made plans to determine his own ransom and how to defeat the pirates. So much so that, after escaping, he returned to hunt down and punish these pirates who had opposed him. This event showcased once again how bold, brave, and determined Caesar was. These tough years ignited a fire within Caesar. Under Sulla's oppressive rule in Rome, Caesar risked everything to survive and achieve his future goals. He never lost faith that he would one day return to Rome and end the dark period Sulla had created. After Sulla's death, it was time for Caesar to return to Rome. Now, Rome was ready to hear the steps of a new leader, and that leader was none other than the young Caesar, sharpened, seasoned, and filled with experiences from his years of exile. This exile shaped Caesar's soul and character, teaching him the hardest lessons in life. He deeply felt what war, politics, betrayal, and tyranny truly meant. And my dear friends, these hardships gave Caesar the strength and wisdom that would make him one of Rome's greatest leaders. Remember, no great leader in history has had an easy path. Caesar's path was rocky and thorny, but he walked it with wise determination, resolve, and an unwavering belief. Ah, my dear friends, young Caesar's life was right in the midst of a perilous adventure. I've mentioned his previous exile days now. Let me tell you how this period of exile turned into a heroic saga. During those years away from Rome, young Caesar faced not just a political game, but also a different kind of struggle, where his courage was tested, his adventure with pirates. After being exiled from Rome, Caesar spent some time traveling through various Mediterranean port cities. Amidst challenging roads, stormy seas, and uncertainty, he was making plans for the great things he would achieve in the future. But one day his ship was captured by pirates in the Aegean Sea. Imagine this: a young, hopeful leader finds himself in the hands of ruthless pirates. This was no ordinary captivity. It was here that Caesar's determination and courage would shine. The pirates locked Caesar in a cave and began a heated discussion about how much ransom to demand. Of course, Caesar wasn't afraid or disheartened by these dangerous men. There was no trace of fear in his eyes. Instead, with the wisdom of a sage and the confidence of a leader, he took his first step to turn the situation to his advantage. He boldly told the pirates that their ransom demand was far too low. "Do you know who I am? Double my ransom. Only then will you get what I'm worth." This is where you can truly understand how brave Caesar was, my friends. Even under captivity, he set the terms and managed to remain superior in every situation. The pirates were astonished by Caesar's attitude. His confidence and leadership qualities had even impressed them. The ransom was doubled, and a message was sent to gather the money needed to free Caesar from Rome. During this time, Caesar lived with the pirates. He spent time with them, listened to their songs and stories. Sometimes he joked with them, and at other times shared his grand dreams. But most of all, he would look them in the eye and say, "One day I'll catch all of you and punish you." The pirates thought this was a joke and laughed it off. But Caesar's words were filled with seriousness and a burning desire for revenge. Because this wasn't just a period of captivity for him, it was one of the greatest tests of his courage, determination, and leadership skills. Days passed, the ransom was paid, and Caesar finally regained his freedom. But the story didn't end there, my friends. As soon as he was free, Caesar vowed to go after the pirates. He set out to seek revenge, bring them to justice, and make them pay for what they had done. He gathered several powerful ships, took his men, and set off in pursuit of the pirates. At that time, the Mediterranean was like a paradise for pirates. Every port and island had a pirate stronghold. But Caesar, like a fearless commander, tracked them down one by one. Now the roles had reversed. The pirates who once captured Caesar were now on their knees, in need of his mercy. Caesar administered ruthless justice against them. He first brought them to Rome and then set up a court to have them punished. This event once again demonstrated Caesar's strong sense of justice and determination. Even as a young man, he was challenging history with his power, courage, and quest for justice. This adventure was one of Caesar's first major victories in his military career. It wasn't just a victory over pirates, but also over those who underestimated him and his strength. Caesar's leadership was strengthened by these trials. His military strategies, courage, and determination to overcome every obstacle grew. So, my dear friends, Caesar's struggle with the pirates wasn't just a story of captivity, it was proof of how a young leader can defy challenges and never bow down. He managed not to be lost in the vast Mediterranean waters, but to be reborn every time. And this event was also one of the first signs of how he would later lead Rome. No matter who his enemies were, Caesar never surrendered or wavered, because within him was the courage of a sage and the determination of a leader that would change Rome's future. Caesar's military successes were born from such a story. And my dear friends, remember, great leaders never give up, even when faced with great difficulties. Caesar's story shows us exactly this. No matter how many times you fall, there is always a reason to get back up. Dear friends, now I will take you into the depths of Rome's glorious history, to a magnificent period, the founding of the first triumvirate. This story is a fascinating account of how three great leaders, Pompey, Crassus, and Caesar, came together in an alliance that changed the fate of Rome. We will explore step by step how the political landscape in Rome was shaped and why, and how these three powerful men joined forces. The year was 60 BC, and the Roman Republic was on the brink of major change. Three significant figures, each unique in their own way but unparalleled in power and influence, decided to form a grand alliance that would affect Rome's future. Who were these three men? And why did they feel the need to form such a partnership? Let's find out together. First, we must introduce Crassus. Marcus Licinius Crassus was one of the wealthiest men in Rome. He was known not only for his immense wealth but also for his military successes. However, his political influence in Rome was sometimes limited. Crassus wanted to increase his wealth further and consolidate his political power, but he was aware of the risks of acting alone. Next, let's look at Pompey, one of Rome's military legends. Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus was a commander famous for his victories across the Roman Empire. His successes in the East made him one of Rome's most powerful and popular leaders. However, Pompey clearly wanted to secure a solid place for himself in the political arena. His political power was occasionally shaken by conflicts with the Roman Senate. Pompey needed a strong ally to maintain and enhance his influence. Finally, let's consider the young and ambitious Julius Caesar. Caesar stood out with his unique charisma and military genius. However, at that time, Caesar's political power was still in its infancy. Without significant military success and political influence, it was difficult for Caesar to deal with other power centers in Rome. Therefore, Caesar was seeking important allies to boost both his military and political power. When these three men crossed paths, a turning point in Rome's history occurred. Crassus, Pompey, and Caesar came together to form a powerful alliance. But this alliance was not a simple collaboration, it was a complex strategic partnership. Each aimed to increase their own power by leveraging the strengths and influence of the others. The alliance was initially solidified through a political marriage. Pompey married Caesar's daughter, Julia. This marriage created a bond between the two great families and strengthened the foundation of their alliance. However, this alliance needed to be supported not only by personal relationships, but also by political and military strategies. Crassus, as Rome's wealthiest man, represented financial power in this partnership. Pompey was renowned for his military victories across the empire. Caesar played an important role with his innovative ideas about Rome's internal workings and the military successes he achieved at a young age. The first triumvirate aimed to provide protection against the various political power dynamics in Rome by creating a balance among these three allies. However, this alliance was not just about sharing power and wealth. Each member found an opportunity to achieve their own goals with the support of the others. Crassus used the alliance to increase his political power and influence, while Pompey and Caesar leveraged it to surpass their rivals in Rome and advance their own careers. The First Triumvirate was recorded as one of the greatest strategic partnerships in the political history of the Roman Republic. But its lifespan was short. Crassus' political ambitions and personal ambitions complicated his relationships with Pompey and Caesar. Over time, the triumvirate entered a period of tension and conflict. Crassus's tragic end further damaged the friendship between Pompey and Caesar. In conclusion, the founding of the First Triumvirate changed the political balance in Rome and marked the beginning of a new era. This partnership of three great leaders became one of the most significant alliances in Roman history. Each took major steps in their own paths, but this alliance also highlighted the complexities of power struggles in Rome. The First Triumvirate was a turning point in the political history of the Roman Republic, and the relationship among these three men profoundly impacted the future of Rome. Dear friends, now I will take you into the depths of Rome's majestic history. In this segment, we will focus on one of the most critical periods of Julius Caesar's rise in Rome, the consulship of Caesar. During this time, Caesar ascended to Rome's highest office, the consulship. However, this success was filled not only with victories but also with significant conflicts and tensions. Let's dive into these events together and discover how Caesar revolutionized Rome, his tensions with the Senate, and the uprisings he faced. By the year 59 BC, the political arena of the Roman Republic was shaken by the election of Julius Caesar, once a shining star of Rome, to the highest office of consul. The reasons and consequences behind this election were closely linked not only to Caesar's personal ambitions but also to Rome's complex political structure. Caesar's rise signaled a radical change threatening Rome's traditional structure. Caesar employed various strategies to secure his place in the power games of Rome. The consulship gave him not only political power but also legislative authority. This position offered Caesar an important role in shaping laws. However, the way Caesar used this new power provoked reactions from the Senate and other political rivals. The Roman Senate, historically aristocratic, typically reserved high offices for the patrician class. Caesar challenged this aristocratic structure by appealing to a broader base of the populace. This approach caused significant discomfort among the Senate, which feared losing its privileges. Caesar's reforms and people-supported policies challenged the traditional Senate structure, sparking a major conflict between the two sides. Among Caesar's initial actions were profound changes in Rome's social and economic structure. One of the most notable changes was land reform. Caesar introduced strict laws against landowners to improve the living conditions of people in the rural areas of Rome. This led to substantial opposition from large landowners. Through these reforms, Caesar gained the support of both the populace and military units. However, these actions further intensified the Senate's hostility. It is also important to remember that Caesar did not limit himself to domestic reforms. He pursued an effective strategy in foreign policy as well. Caesar expanded Rome's influence in neighboring regions, achieving military successes and extending Rome's borders. However, these military successes caused the Senate to view Caesar as a threat. Caesar's achievements with military power and popular support weakened the Senate's power, making them even more uneasy. Another significant aspect was Caesar's conflicts with political rivals. Caesar's opponents, particularly senators, believed his people-supported reforms could jeopardize their own political careers. Consequently, various conspiracies and intrigues were devised against Caesar. He needed to build strong popular support to protect himself against these attacks. One of the greatest challenges during Caesar's consulship was the uprisings and social unrest in Rome. Caesar's reforms and policies led to dissatisfaction in various sectors of Roman society. Particularly large landowners and aristocrats opposing land reforms took actions to limit Caesar's powers. This situation created significant tension during the early part of Caesar's consulship. Despite these challenges, Caesar managed to gain substantial support by utilizing his political skills and strategic intelligence. This period became a crucial turning point in Roman political history. The tensions and uprisings Caesar experienced with the Senate set the stage for structural changes in the Roman Republic. In conclusion, Caesar's consulship was not just the rise of a leader, but also a reflection of how the political dynamics of the Roman Republic changed. Caesar's reforms, his conflicts with the Senate, and the uprisings deeply impacted Rome's future. This period remains one of the most important events in Rome's history, leaving a lasting mark in the annals of time. Dear friends, here is the fascinating story of Julius Caesar's consulship. This period represents not only the rise of a leader, but also the transformation of a civilization. Caesar's actions during this time had a profound impact on Rome's history and foreshadowed the significant changes that would occur in the years to come. Dear listeners, now we will focus on one of the most glorious and bold periods in Roman history, Julius Caesar's Gallic campaign. In this segment, we will explore Caesar's strategic genius and his victories in Gaul in detail. Get ready, because this story is not just about military success, but also about a leader's determination and the tremendous rise of the Roman Empire. The year 58 BC marked a turning point in Rome's military history. Julius Caesar launched the Gallic campaign with the goal of expanding Rome's borders and bringing the various tribes of Gaul under Roman control. Gaul at that time covered a vast area including present-day France, Belgium, Germany, and parts of Italy. This land was of great strategic and economic importance to Rome. However, the conquest of these vast territories was a major test, not only of Caesar's military abilities and strategic intelligence, but also of the complex local structure and resistance in Gaul. When Caesar began the Gallic campaign, he faced a complex geography with many different tribes. These tribes were unfamiliar with Rome and showed strong resistance to Roman rule. However, Caesar, with great strategic acumen, employed various military tactics and diplomatic moves to break this resistance. The first major conflict of the Gallic campaign occurred in 58 BC, when Caesar fought against the Helvetii and Boii tribes. Caesar successfully drove the Helvetii away from Roman territory, ensuring Rome's security. This first victory earned Caesar both military and popular support. Caesar's initial significant triumph in Gaul brought Rome closer to the vast territories of Gaul. But Caesar's Gallic campaign was not just about military conflicts. He also formed alliances with various tribes in the region, ensuring their participation in battles alongside Rome. These alliances were a crucial part of Caesar's military strategy. By establishing these alliances, Caesar strengthened Rome's presence in Gaul and weakened local resistance. Caesar's diplomatic skills proved as effective at the negotiating table as they were on the battlefield. In 57 BC, Caesar encountered greater resistance in Gaul. That year, he faced a powerful coalition of tribes against Rome. This battle marked a critical moment for Rome's continued dominance in Gaul. Caesar used his military ingenuity and strategic skills to defeat this coalition and consolidate Rome's control in Gaul. Caesar's victories did not end there. In 56 and 55 BC, Caesar conducted military operations in the northern regions of Gaul and the British Isles. These operations not only expanded Rome's control over Gaul, but also facilitated the exploration of Britain and Rome's spread into new territories. During his early expeditions to Britain, Caesar engaged in fierce conflicts with local tribes, but also showcased Rome's military strength and influence in Britain. By 52 BC, Caesar's military campaigns in Gaul reached their peak. This year saw a major uprising in Gaul led by Vercingetorix, a leader of one of Gaul's principal tribes. Vercingetorix organized a significant resistance against Roman rule and launched a final major battle against Caesar. Caesar used all his military and strategic capabilities to suppress this great uprising. He successfully completed the massive siege at Alesia and forced Vercingetorix to surrender. This victory is considered one of Caesar's greatest achievements in his military career. The Gallic campaign not only brought military successes but also deeply affected Rome's social and economic structure. The conquest of Gaul expanded the borders of the Roman Empire, gained new territories, and increased Rome's economic power. Additionally, the spoils from Gaul enriched Rome's economic resources and supported its military strength. The results of Caesar's Gallic campaign marked a significant turning point in Rome's history. This campaign solidified Caesar's military abilities and strategic intelligence. Furthermore, Caesar's victories in Gaul boosted his popularity and strengthened his political career in Rome. However, these victories also intensified political tensions in Rome and deepened conflicts with Caesar's rivals. Dear friends, here is the fascinating story of Julius Caesar's Gallic campaign. Caesar's military successes and strategic maneuvers during this period have gone down in history as one of Rome's most important events. These victories expanded Rome's borders, reinforced its dominance, and marked a major turning point in Caesar's military career. Caesar's Gallic campaign was not just a military triumph, but also a sign of Rome's steps toward becoming a great empire. Dear friends, now we will focus on one of the most exciting and strategically crucial moments in Roman history, the Siege of Alesia. This event represents a battle where Julius Caesar displayed his military brilliance and strategic genius at the highest level. Get ready, because this story is not just about a military victory but also about a leader's determination and the epic tale of how resistance was broken. The year 52 BC witnessed the greatest and most challenging uprising in Gaul. That year, Gaul's famous leader Vercingetorix initiated a significant resistance against Roman rule. Vercingetorix had formed a powerful coalition that threatened Rome's control over Gaul. This coalition created a substantial force against Rome, putting Caesar in a very tough position. However, Caesar, using his military genius and strategic skills, engaged in the most difficult battles to suppress this rebellion. Alesia was a strategically important fortress located in the center of Gaul. This fortress was the central position of Vercingetorix and his allies' defense line. Caesar launched a major military campaign to capture this crucial stronghold. The Siege of Alesia was not just a military operation but also a story of strategic maneuvering and psychological warfare. Caesar developed an excellent strategy for the Siege of Alesia. This strategy aimed not only to besiege the fortress but also to block any external assistance that Vercingetorix might receive. Caesar built a massive system of ditches and fortifications around the fortress. This defensive line protected the Roman army besieging Alesia and cut off any incoming aid. Caesar's strategic move ensured that any forces attempting to send help to the fortress were blocked. However, the challenges of the Siege of Alesia did not end there. While Vercingetorix was trapped inside the fortress, the tribes outside were making significant efforts to send aid to Caesar's army. These attempts aimed to trap Caesar between two fronts. However, Caesar anticipated this and built a second defensive line. This second line of defense was designed to protect the Roman army from potential reinforcements coming from outside the fortress. Caesar's move gave him the advantage of managing both the threats inside and outside the siege. At this stage of the Siege of Alesia, Caesar and his army faced immense difficulties. Vercingetorix, trapped in the fortress, left his people in a state of extreme hunger and hardship. Caesar used every strategy at his disposal to force this famous Gallic leader to surrender. At the same time, by blocking incoming aid, Caesar managed to demoralize the defenders inside the fortress. These strategic moves by Caesar were highly effective in breaking the resistance in Gaul. Eventually, the turning point of the Siege of Alesia arrived. By the end of 52 BC, Vercingetorix and his allies experienced severe exhaustion and despair under the Roman siege. Caesar, with remarkable strategic skill, squeezed the resistance inside the fortress. In this dire situation, Vercingetorix had no choice but to surrender. This surrender went down in history as a triumph of Caesar's military brilliance and strategic intelligence. The siege of Alesia went down as a key event that solidified Rome's dominance in Gaul and one of the greatest successes in Julius Caesar's military career. This victory provided a perfect example of Caesar's military strategy and secured Rome's control over Gaul. Moreover, the siege marked a significant turning point in the expansion of the Roman Empire. Dear friends, here is the fascinating story of the siege of Alesia. Julius Caesar's great achievement was not only a military triumph, but also a testament to a leader's determination and strategic genius. Caesar's victory at Alesia shaped the future of the Roman Empire and marked an important step in his military career. This siege reinforced Rome's dominance in Gaul and solidified Caesar's place in history. The story of this great battle remains one of the most unforgettable moments in Roman history. Dear friends, we are approaching the end of our historical journey. Now we will focus on the rising fame of Julius Caesar after the Gallic Wars and the fears of the Roman Senate regarding this situation. This period reveals how power dynamics in Rome changed after Caesar's military successes and the deep rifts within the Republic. With the end of the Gallic Wars, Julius Caesar's fame soared to the highest peaks in Rome. Caesar shone as a great hero in the eyes of the people thanks to his victories in Gaul. While the Senate and the public admired Caesar's military achievements and leadership, they began to worry about his increasing power. By conquering vast territories in Gaul, Caesar expanded Rome's borders and gained substantial military prestige. However, these great victories had turned into a threat in the eyes of the senators and Republican forces. Caesar's fame led him to be recognized not only as a military leader but also as a popular hero in Rome. The people celebrated his victories in Gaul with enthusiasm, further increasing his influence in Rome. Caesar's name echoed not only on the battlefield but also among the people. This situation deepened the power imbalances and political conflicts within the Roman Republic. However, Caesar's growing power caused great fear among the Roman Senate and Republican elites. Senators were concerned that Caesar's rising popularity threatened the foundational structures of the Roman Republic. Caesar's military successes had made him the most powerful political and military figure in Rome. This situation led to a series of strategic and political maneuvers in the Senate. Senators planned various steps to balance Caesar's power and maintain the stability of the Republic. Caesar's return to Rome from Gaul marked the beginning of another major dispute and conflict. When Caesar returned from Gaul, he entered Rome with a grand victory. This return further boosted his popularity and power. However, the Roman Senate feared that Caesar might use this prestige to alter the political balance in Rome. Senators were worried that Caesar's accumulation of power could threaten the fundamental principles of the Republic. The Senate engaged in various political maneuvers against Caesar. His period saw an increase in political conflicts and polarization in Rome. Senators developed strategies to balance Caesar's growing influence. During this time, political and military rivals emerged against Caesar. His popularity and influence fundamentally changed the power dynamics in Rome and deepened the rifts within the Republic. Caesar's victories in Gaul, while boosting his power in Rome, also triggered concerns among the Senate. This period helps us understand the impact of Caesar's political strategies and military successes on the future of the Roman Republic. The Senate's fear of Caesar reflects the deep political conflicts and tensions within the Republic. This represents one of the most significant and complex periods in Roman history, showcasing the tension between Caesar's rising fame and the Senate's fears. Dear friends, Here is the intricate relationship between the events following the Gallic Wars and the complex dynamics between Caesar's rising fame and the Senate's fears. Julius Caesar's military and political influence brought significant changes to the foundational structures of the Roman Republic. After this period, some of the most important and dramatic events in Roman history occurred. Caesar's victories shaped Rome's future and fundamentally altered the balance of power within the Republic. This great historical turning point remains one of the most fascinating and impactful moments in Roman history. Dear friends, now we're stepping into one of the most exciting and pivotal moments in Roman history, the crossing of the Rubicon River. This event had profound effects not only on Julius Caesar's life, but also on the entire history of the Roman Republic. Are you ready? Let's dive into the depths of the past and explore this historic moment together. The heart of the Roman Republic always beat around the grandeur of the Forum and the Senate. However, after Caesar's victories in Gaul, the power dynamics in Rome began to shift. Caesar had achieved significant military success and had become a hero in the eyes of the Roman people. However, this victory was also perceived as a threat by the Roman Senate. Senators were worried about Caesar's increasing power and feared that his military successes could threaten the stability of the Republic. During this period, events allowed Caesar to rise not just as a military leader, but also as a political figure in Rome. His relationship with the Senate grew increasingly complex and tense. Senators tried to prevent Caesar from gaining more power and took steps to balance his influence. However, Caesar needed to act to change the situation and gain more control in Rome. And it was at this point that crossing the Rubicon River became a pivotal moment with a significant impact on history. The Rubicon was a river that marked the natural boundary between Rome and Gaul in the north. After the Senate decided to block Caesar's return to Rome, Caesar took a huge risk by deciding to cross the Rubicon. This action signaled the beginning of a rebellion and civil war in Rome. Caesar's famous words as he crossed the Rubicon, "Alia acta est," meaning the die is cast, echoed through history. These words announced that Caesar had passed the point of no return and that a major change was about to begin in the future of the Roman Republic. By crossing the Rubicon, Caesar drew all the attention of both the Roman Senate and the public to himself. This move fundamentally altered the political balance in Rome and ignited the fuse of a civil war. Crossing the Rubicon was a bold and risky move for Caesar. This action carried not only military but also political significance. Caesar sought to reinforce his political and military power by pushing the boundaries of the Roman Republic. This act increased his influence and power in Rome, while also heightening the Senate's hostility towards him. The crossing of the Rubicon, a daring step that led to the outbreak of civil war, became one of the most significant turning points in the Roman Republic's history. Caesar's action led to deeper political conflicts in Rome and the onset of civil war. This risky move marked the beginning of a period where Caesar solidified his power and shaped the future of the Roman Republic. Dear friends, here we have the crossing of the Rubicon and Caesar igniting the civil war. This moment, as one of the key turning points in history, had a significant impact on the future of the Roman Republic. Caesar's bold step changed the political balance in Rome and marked the start of a civil war. This event initiated one of the most exciting and complex periods in Roman history and reinforced Caesar's power in Rome. It's a great pleasure for us to experience this major historical moment together, gain insights into the depths of history, and understand this crucial change in Rome's fate. The Battle of Pharsalus. This monumental struggle, etched into the pages of history in golden letters, determined the fate of Rome and is remembered as a resounding victory. Now, let's step into a grand tale of military strategy and heroism, as told by these ancient sages gathered around the fire. At the heart of a great epic, we find a period where the power struggle of the Roman Republic reached its peak. Julius Caesar and Pompey had become the most powerful figures of the Republic, drawn into a major conflict that would shape the future of Rome. The climax of this clash occurred in the summer of 48 BC near the city of Pharsalus in Greece. Pompey, with his vast military experience and a strong army, was supported by the Senate as the defender against Caesar's threats. Pompey had prepared to defend himself like a fortress against Caesar with his considerable military force. On the other hand, Caesar, as a bold leader, set out to demonstrate his increasing military success and influence against Pompey. On the day the battle erupted, the open terrain of Pharsalus became a stage for remarkable military strategy and bravery. Caesar showcased his military genius during this critical phase of the battle. On that day, Caesar's forces engaged in a tough struggle against Pompey's great power. The battlefield was filled with the noise of warriors' cries, clashing shields, and the clang of swords. The land of Pharsalus hosted this grand confrontation between two mighty armies. Caesar, using his strategic brilliance to the fullest, managed to surprise Pompey's army. Pompey could not anticipate Caesar's tactics, and Caesar's unexpected strategies disrupted Pompey's forces. Caesar's military leadership and strategic prowess ensured his victory. This triumph was not just a military success, but also a political turning point. By the end of the Battle of Pharsalus, Pompey's army suffered a massive defeat. Pompey's soldiers were forced to retreat in the face of Caesar's forces, solidifying Caesar's dominance over Rome. After the battle, Pompey decided to flee to Egypt, where he would meet a tragic end. Caesar's great victory brought about a significant change in Rome's political arena and further solidified his power. The victory at Pharsalus highlighted Caesar's military and political skills. This triumph cemented his power in Rome and had a profound impact on the future of the Roman Republic. With this victory, Caesar had shaped Rome's destiny and altered the course of Roman history. Dear friends, here is the story of the Battle of Pharsalus. This great struggle stands as a tale of military strategy, leadership, and heroism in history. Caesar's grand victory changed the power balance in Rome and played a crucial role in Rome's future. It's a great pleasure to experience this historical moment together and see how Caesar became a hero in this great battle. Understanding the depths of the Battle of Pharsalus and this important period in Roman history brings us closer to the echoes of the past. Now we'll open the doors to a historic legend, Julius Caesar's remarkable journey to Egypt and his intriguing alliance with the most famous queen in history, Cleopatra. Let's settle in and embark on this thrilling journey, as this story is about a Roman leader's visit to one of the world's exotic corners and the intrigue that unfolded there. In the summer of 48 BC, the echoes of the Battle of Pharsalus had traveled far from Rome to Egypt. Instead of returning to Rome after his victory, Caesar embarked on a journey that would capture attention and lead to a historic turning point. Caesar aimed to solidify his triumph and form an alliance with Cleopatra, who played a crucial role in Egypt's throne. Under the brilliant desert sun of Egypt, these events were more than just a love story. They were filled with intrigue, political maneuvers, and a complex struggle for power. Cleopatra VII, the famous and captivating Queen of Egypt, was known for her strategic acumen and impressive personality despite her youth. However, her throne was threatened by civil wars and conspiracies. Her brother Ptolemy XIII's desire to claim the Egyptian throne was shaking Cleopatra's and Egypt's political stability. In this civil war environment, Cleopatra sought to secure her throne with Caesar's help and support. Caesar's arrival in Egypt marked a turning point in history. He first went to the royal palace in Alexandria and then met Cleopatra. Cleopatra, trying to impress Caesar, famously entered the palace room wrapped in a rug. According to legend, she was presented to Caesar hidden in the rug, and Caesar greatly admired this bold and creative approach. This signaled that Cleopatra would become an important ally to Caesar. The relationship between Caesar and Cleopatra soon deepened both personally and politically. An alliance was formed that helped Cleopatra secure her throne and strengthen Caesar's position in Rome. This alliance had a significant impact on the relationship between Rome and Egypt, contributing to both their political goals. However, this alliance was not just a friendly relationship but also the precursor to a major military campaign. The civil wars in Egypt required Caesar and Cleopatra to work together. Caesar launched a military campaign against rival forces led by Cleopatra's brother Ptolemy XIII. This campaign began with a major siege of Alexandria, known in history as the Siege of Alexandria. The Siege of Alexandria tested Caesar's military skills and strategic intelligence. The city was defended by Egyptian soldiers, and Caesar's army faced significant challenges during the siege. Cleopatra provided substantial support to Caesar, playing a crucial role in the battle against their common enemies by combining Egypt's strength with Caesar's influence in Rome. Ultimately, Caesar's military strategies and Cleopatra's support led to the successful conclusion of the Siege of Alexandria. Cleopatra's throne was secured, and Ptolemy XIII fled after Caesar's victory. This victory solidified both Caesar's and Cleopatra's powers. Caesar strengthened his position in Egypt, and Cleopatra regained her throne. Following these events, Caesar and Cleopatra maintained a close relationship, which became the subject of many legends and stories throughout history. Cleopatra's child with Caesar, Caesarion, became a symbol of this impressive alliance between Egypt and Rome. Dear friends, here is the story of this remarkable journey to Egypt and the significant alliance with Cleopatra. This tale reflects not only military victories but also personal relationships, political strategies, and historical changes. Experiencing this story together and understanding this important period of Caesar's time in Egypt brings us great pleasure and historical insight. The legendary relationship between Cleopatra and Caesar will remain a captivating story reflected in the dusty pages of history. The triumphant cheers echoing through Rome's cobbled streets reached every corner of the city with Caesar's return. Caesar's success in Egypt marked a turning point in Rome's illustrious history. His victory in Alexandria had boosted his power and influence in Rome, and upon his return he was greeted with a grand triumph. These triumphal processions were a grand festival where people from all over Rome gathered to celebrate Caesar's glory. The city transformed into a festival atmosphere to celebrate Caesar's return. A massive crowd gathered to witness the triumphal parade. Caesar progressed through Rome's grand avenues, marked by his victory. Prisoners of war, spoils, and symbols of triumph were featured in the procession, demonstrating the admiration and loyalty of the Roman people towards Caesar. This magnificent parade further strengthened Caesar's position in Rome and solidified his leadership. But Caesar's return was not just about victory. Upon arriving in Rome, he introduced significant innovations and reforms aimed at the city's future. During his dictatorship, Caesar took numerous important steps to restructure Rome. His reforms fundamentally changed Rome's social and political structure, and it was clear how impactful these changes were to the public. During Caesar's dictatorship, several reforms were implemented to reorganize Rome's internal structure and governance. Important measures included land reforms, debt restructuring, and improvements to the social structure. Particularly, land reforms aimed to redistribute land from Rome's wealthy classes to elevate the living standards of the poor. These reforms allowed Caesar to gain substantial support from the public and increased his influence in Rome's political arena. Additionally, Caesar's innovations to the Roman calendar became a significant part of his legacy on the historical stage. The complex Roman calendar system was restructured by Caesar, introducing the Julian calendar. This system eliminated irregularities in dates and provided a more accurate and functional calendar. Caesar's reform created a significant change in daily life in Rome, and its impact persisted throughout history. Other changes Caesar made to transform Rome included city planning, the reconstruction of public buildings, and projects aimed at improving the living standards of the people. Rome, under Caesar's vision, became not only the center of military victories but also the hub of social and cultural reforms. Caesar made a tremendous effort to enhance Rome's grandeur and splendor, and this effort was enthusiastically embraced by the Roman people. In conclusion, Caesar's triumphant return to Rome was a pivotal moment that reinforced his leadership skills and influence in Rome. The triumphal parade symbolized the public's admiration and loyalty to Caesar, while the dictatorship era brought about fundamental changes in Rome's social and political structure. Caesar's reforms and innovations left an indelible mark on Rome's history, shaping its future significantly. Dear friends, today I'm going to tell you one of the most fascinating and captivating chapters in Roman history: Caesar's meeting with Cleopatra, the political intrigues behind their great romance, and the strategies for dominance in the East. If you're ready, let's embark on a journey into the depths of time. Following the triumphant celebrations in the streets of Rome, Caesar set out to meet Cleopatra, the dazzling star of Egypt's sands. Cleopatra, the last Ptolemaic queen of Egypt, had become legendary for both her beauty and her intelligence. Her name had earned a legendary status among Rome's greatest leaders because the relationship between Caesar and Cleopatra was not just a personal one, but also the beginning of a complex political alliance. Caesar's journey to Egypt to meet Cleopatra was not just a love story. It was also part of Rome's strategy for dominance in the East. Cleopatra was seeking powerful allies to secure her throne amidst Egypt's complex and troubled political environment, and Caesar, as one of Rome's most powerful figures, came to meet this need. Cleopatra seized the opportunity to approach Caesar, aware of his influence and power in Egypt. The first encounter between Cleopatra and Caesar was a historic meeting. This meeting, held in the stunning capital of Egypt, Alexandria, represented the coming together of two great powers. Cleopatra made a dramatic entrance, introducing both herself and Egypt to Caesar. This strategic move was aimed at attracting Caesar's interest and support. Cleopatra managed to capture Caesar's attention and support by showcasing Egypt's wealth and beauty. During this meeting, Caesar established not only a personal relationship with Cleopatra but also a political alliance. Cleopatra's efforts to secure her throne and build a strong alliance with Rome aligned with Caesar's desire to secure Rome's interests in the East. Through his relationship with Cleopatra, Caesar aimed to eliminate political uncertainties and rivals in Egypt, thereby increasing Rome's influence in the region. Cleopatra's alliance with Caesar was a critical step in solidifying her own throne and strengthening Rome's presence in the East. The relationship between Caesar and Cleopatra, one of history's most famous love stories, also reflected the political and military strategies of Rome and Egypt. Caesar's interest in Cleopatra was not just a romantic connection but also part of a broader strategy to enhance Egypt's relationship with Rome and consolidate his own dominance. Cleopatra's alliance with Caesar was a strategic move to increase Egypt's influence in Rome and secure its own sovereignty. The relationship between Caesar and Cleopatra marked a significant turning point in the history of Rome and Egypt. Cleopatra's alliance with Caesar enabled her to achieve both personal and political goals. Egypt's influence in the region, combined with Caesar's increased power in Rome, shaped Rome's strategies in the East. In conclusion, Caesar's meeting with Cleopatra is a story of a romance and political alliance that left a lasting mark on history. This relationship reflected both Caesar's and Cleopatra's strategic efforts to solidify their dominions and strengthen the ties between Rome and Egypt. Their encounter remains one of the most intriguing and complex chapters in the history of Rome and Egypt, and this grand love story continues to shine through the dusty pages of history. Dear listeners, this is the story of Caesar's meeting with Cleopatra and the political intrigues behind their great romance. The relationship between Cleopatra and Caesar was not just a romantic connection, but also a crucial part of a larger strategic plan that altered the course of history. This story provides a new perspective on the political games of Rome and Egypt, allowing us to delve deeper into history. Dear friends, today I'm going to tell you another epic story from Caesar's life, his eastern campaigns, and the legendary Battle of Zela against King Pharnaces. This chapter represents a crucial period that showcases Caesar's military prowess and strategic brilliance. If you're ready, let's embark on this historical journey. We're stepping into a turning point in history. Julius Caesar, the mighty commander of Rome, had etched his name into the annals of history with his victories. However, on the road to eternal triumph, a new challenge emerged from the east, presented by the kingdom of Pontus. This is where Caesar's legendary status as a military strategist comes into play: the confrontation with Pharnaces and the Battle of Zela. King Pharnaces of Pontus was leading a major uprising in the territories under Roman influence. His goal was to undermine Rome's dominance in the region and expand his own territory. Caesar, recognizing the danger to Rome, quickly mobilized to put down the rebellion. In 47 BC, Caesar set out for the east to end Pharnaces' rebellion. At this time, Pharnaces had significantly strengthened the kingdom of Pontus and posed a serious threat to Caesar. However, Caesar's military genius and strategic acumen made him highly capable of managing this dangerous situation. Caesar accelerated his military campaigns and prepared to confront Pharnaces. The Battle of Zela became one of the most critical moments of this campaign. Pharnaces' forces were trapped in a besieged area against Caesar's Roman army. When the day of the battle arrived, the conflict between Caesar and Pharnaces turned into a historic clash. Caesar, with his clever strategies and military skills, was determined to break Pharnaces' resistance. During the battle, Caesar targeted the enemy's weak points to gain a strategic advantage. In the end, the Battle of Zela resulted in a significant victory for Caesar's Roman army. Caesar's leadership led to a decisive defeat of Pharnaces' forces. This victory became a testament to Caesar's military skills and strategic brilliance. After this victory, we remember the famous words Caesar uttered that marked the moment in history: Veni, Vidi, Vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. This brief but powerful statement encapsulated his success in the Battle of Zela. It symbolized Caesar's military genius and his ability to achieve victory swiftly. Caesar's success in this battle reinforced Rome's dominance in the east and ended Pharnaces' rebellion. With this victory, Rome regained control over the region and significantly bolstered Caesar's military career. The Battle of Zela once again highlighted Caesar's military leadership and strategic intelligence. In conclusion, Caesar's encounter with Pharnaces and the Battle of Zela is remembered as one of the most important military victories in history. This event provided a summary of Caesar's military strategies and leadership skills, reinforcing Rome's influence in the East and solidifying Caesar's place in history. Dear friends, now we're going to step into the dark corridors of history and closely examine the rise of Julius Caesar's influence in the Roman Senate, as well as the struggle of his enemies to unite against him. Get ready, as this chapter will reveal the complex power struggles of the late Roman Republic and Caesar's strategic moves. Rome is buzzing with the victories of the mighty Caesar. After his great successes in Gaul, Caesar had begun to secure a solid power base in Rome as well. However, this power came with jealousy and fear from many political and military leaders. The Senate was uncomfortable with Caesar's growing power and developed various strategies to balance or even eliminate his influence. In the Roman Senate, Caesar's increasing influence caused great discomfort among senators who wanted to maintain the old order. Caesar's successes had made him a powerful figure, not only in military but also in political spheres. This led to the senators uniting against his rise. The most influential and authoritative members of the Senate came together to counter Caesar's power and preserve the traditional order of the Roman Republic. Caesar's influence in the Senate became more apparent after his reforms and victories. However, his expanding authority and popularity led the senators to unite against him. Prominent Roman senators especially believed that Caesar's growing power threatened the fundamental principles of the Republic. During this period, Caesar's political rivals formed various alliances to oppose him and break his influence. This group in the Senate devised a series of plans to block and weaken Caesar's growing influence. They implemented various strategies to ensure Caesar's downfall and regain control in Rome. One of Caesar's biggest challenges during this time was the coalition formed by his enemies. Senators united against Caesar's increasing power, taking various steps to reduce his influence. This group opposed him with plots and political maneuvers, further escalating the tense political atmosphere in Rome. Caesar's increasing power in the Senate also led to the unification of his political and military rivals. These enemies aimed to undermine his power and influence through the coalition they formed against him. However, Caesar's strategic acumen and political maneuvers enabled him to handle these united enemy groups. The rise of Caesar's power in the Senate and the unification of his enemies led to significant political conflicts within the Roman Republic. During this period, Caesar's leadership and influence played a decisive role in the future of Rome. Despite the coalition of his enemies, Caesar managed to overcome these challenges with his strategic and political moves. However, this struggle was a major obstacle he faced on the path to solidifying his power in Rome. In conclusion, Caesar's rising influence in the Senate and the unification of his enemies revealed the complex political dynamics of Rome's final days. Caesar's political struggle during this period, his efforts to increase his influence, and the coalition formed by his enemies had a profound impact on the future of the Roman Republic. These historical moments once again showcased Caesar's strategic brilliance in consolidating his power and overcoming his enemies. Dear friends, today we will witness one of the most shocking moments in history, a dramatic event that took place in the heart of Rome. We'll take a close look at the assassination plot against Caesar and his tragic death, as well as its profound impact on Rome. You'll find yourself immersed in the dark and bold atmosphere of that era. The streets of Rome once echoed with Caesar's victory cries. However, under the shadow of this great leader, the foundations of the old Roman Republic were shaken, and a bloody drama unfolded in the heart of the city. This was one of history's most famous assassinations, and the path to Caesar's death profoundly changed the political future of Rome. Caesar's rise had intensified the discomfort of his enemies and rivals. But this discomfort was not just verbal opposition. Brutus, Cassius, and other conspirators found Caesar's growing power and influence dangerous and believed he was becoming a tyrant. This group of Rome's most important senators devised a bold and dangerous plan to end Caesar's rule and restore the Republic's old order. Brutus was known as one of Caesar's closest friends and was a key figure behind the planned assassination. His decision to end Caesar's life symbolized a betrayal and deep tragedy among Caesar's inner circle. Cassius was another important leader of the conspiracy. Cassius's collaboration with Brutus to break Caesar's influence marked one of the critical stages of the assassination. The planning of the assassination was carried out with great secrecy and caution. The conspirators secured support from Caesar's closest associates and political rivals to threaten his safety. Brutus and Cassius held various meetings with key figures around Caesar, employing every strategy to ensure the assassination's success. And finally, the historic day arrived. The Ides of March, March 15th, went down as one of the darkest days in Roman history. Caesar was ambushed by Brutus, Cassius, and other conspirators during a Senate meeting. At that moment, Caesar found himself surrounded by those he had considered friends. A prominent historian recorded Caesar's last words, "Et Brute." These words symbolized his realization of the betrayal by his closest allies. In the Senate, Caesar was stabbed multiple times in the stomach, body, and heart. This bloody attack caused a great shock and turmoil in Rome. Caesar's death created a huge stir among both the Roman public and senators. The public's reaction to the assassination and the responses from various political groups changed the social and political atmosphere in Rome. The assassination opened the door to Rome's civil wars and political struggles. After Caesar's death, the foundations of the Roman Republic were shaken, and his legacy became the center of a complex power struggle. The assassination marked a dramatic turning point in Caesar's and Rome's history, foreshadowing future events in Rome. In conclusion, this tragic assassination plot against Caesar symbolizes the profound changes and power struggles in Roman history. This event reveals the shocking impact of Caesar's death on Rome and how deeply his legacy was shaken. Throughout history, this event has presented the complexities of betrayal and triumph with great drama and tragedy. Dear friends, we are about to embark on a journey from the dark days of Rome to the dawn of a new era. After Caesar's dramatic death, a power vacuum emerged in Rome. Yet this void would transform into a legend penned by historians, marking the rise of Augustus and the foundations of the Roman Empire. Let's explore the events behind this pivotal moment together. After Caesar's death, Rome was left in a state of great uncertainty and emptiness. The loss of the great leader plunged the capital into a deep crisis. The city was like a ship without a captain, directionless and vulnerable. The Senate attempted to control the power vacuum left by Caesar's assassination, but these efforts were insufficient to bring long-term stability to Rome's complex political atmosphere. In this environment of uncertainty, a young leader emerged, Augustus. Born Gaius Octavius, Augustus was Caesar's adopted son and heir. After Caesar's death, Augustus set out to claim Caesar's legacy and authority. His rise was a major struggle to fill the chaos and power vacuum in Rome. Augustus's strategy to restore the balance of power in Rome is one of the significant moments in history. Following Caesar's death, Augustus used Caesar's legacy and name to establish a broad sphere of influence both in Rome and beyond. Emphasizing Caesar's great military and political successes, Augustus worked tirelessly to solidify his own power. Initially, Augustus had to balance various political factions and rivals in Rome following Caesar's bloody death. The power struggle in Rome was both an opportunity and a significant challenge for him. Augustus strategically allied with key figures, removing his enemies one by one. He joined forces with Marcus Antonius and Lepidus in the First Triumvirate, which helped him consolidate control in Rome. However, Augustus established his power not only through allies but also by winning over the people. After Caesar's death, the populace faced great uncertainty, and Augustus managed to turn this void to his advantage. By increasing his popularity and gaining the public's favor, Augustus took significant steps to restore stability in Rome. One of Augustus's greatest achievements was laying the foundations for the Roman Empire. After Caesar's death, Augustus carried out many reforms to restructure Rome. These reforms profoundly altered the political and social landscape of Rome and cemented Augustus's imperial authority. With these reforms, Augustus brought peace and order to Rome, a period known as Pax Romana, or Roman peace. By filling the power vacuum in Rome, Augustus succeeded in preserving Caesar's legacy. In this new era following Caesar's death, Augustus's efforts to rebuild Rome and establish imperial rule are recorded as one of the most impressive and successful examples of leadership in history. Augustus, as the first emperor of Rome, advanced Caesar's legacy and signed one of the brightest chapters in Roman history. In conclusion, the power vacuum after Caesar's death and Augustus's monumental efforts to fill it represent a crucial turning point in Roman history. Under Augustus's leadership, Rome stood on the brink of a new era, and Caesar's legacy, along with the reforms of this period, laid the foundations for the Roman Empire. Augustus's role in this process is a grand success story that changed the course of Roman history. Dear friends, our journey through the fascinating history of Rome, Caesar's remarkable life, and Augustus's extraordinary leadership has come to an end. These stories, reaching from the depths of history to our present day, show us how a great empire was shaped and how legendary leaders steered history. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on this historical adventure together. Caesar's life was not just about war and power struggles, it also encompassed dreams, visions, and the highest points of human condition. Seeing how young Caesar rose through the tumultuous times in Rome and changed the course of imperial history reminds us of how vibrant and dynamic history truly is. Caesar's victories, from conquering Gaul to crossing the Rubicon, are proof of his military genius and strategic mind. Every step he took, from these conquests to his bold leadership, reflects the story of a leader who not only shaped Rome's future, but was also a visionary. However, Caesar's death marked one of the darkest turning points in Roman history. The power vacuum left after his death required a new leader to step up, and Augustus took on this challenge. Augustus's efforts to solve the chaos in Rome and establish the empire's structure show us what a great leader he was and how he succeeded in carrying on Caesar's legacy. This historical journey teaches us how Rome was reborn and how an empire was established after Caesar's death. Under Augustus's leadership, Rome stood on the brink of a new era, and the foundations of the Roman Empire were laid. These events are significant not only in history books but also in our understanding of history. Dear friends, history is not just a reflection of the past, it's also a teacher that shows us the direction of today and tomorrow. The stories of Caesar and Augustus remind us of the importance of leadership, courage, strategy, and vision. Their stories help us understand how we've come to the edge of major changes throughout history, and how these changes were shaped. I hope this journey has deepened your love for history and your desire to learn. Viewing history not just as a sequence of old events, but as a dynamic and inspiring part of life, gives us profound insight. In our next video, we'll embark on a journey to explore another depth of our history. Until then, keep exploring the magical world of history and stay open to learning and discovery.